everyone, welcome to this week's Halton Hills Housing Update. So I missed last week, so we are going to be doing like a 2-week recap here, and things have definitely shifted in those 2 weeks. So looking at what has happened in terms of sales. In Georgetown, we had 1 week where we saw 9 sales and 7 sales the next week. So 16 sales over the 2-week period in Georgetown. That is not a very high number, especially for April. So things are definitely not super busy on the buyer front. In Acton, there was 1 sale 1 week and then 3 sales. And the exact same thing happened in the rural market, 1 sale, 3 sales. And then Glen Williams saw no sales through that 2-week period. Another random notable thing, I mean, we've been watching the price points, but 3 of the sales over the last 2 weeks were over $2 million. That is gonna help the April average price, because if you remember when we looked at March and our numbers were so bad, our highest sales were in the 1.6s. So we've had 3 sales over $2 million in the last 2 weeks, which is super random. So that is definitely gonna help our average price. Another thing is, of the 24 sales over the last 2 weeks, only 11 were under that 1 million price point. So the majority of them were actually over $1 million. We had been seeing consistent weeks of under $1 million being the far majority, like 70-80% of the listings selling were under that 1 million mark, but that shifted this week. So kind of interesting because inventory is up. So a few shifts in the trends. We'll see how that continues. But yeah, good news, I guess, for those upper price point buyers, that we've seen some sales in our higher price point million plus things, and a few sales over $2 million bucks. So that's definitely a shift from where we've been most of the year. So now looking at our active inventory, we have taken a significant jump in 2 weeks. We were at 182 active listings. We are now at 209 active listings. So we jumped right over that 200 mark. And I do think on my last update, I talked about if we keep seeing these gaps between our new listings and our sales, like we're gonna start to really pile on the inventory. And here we are. And the bulk of that is in Georgetown. So in Georgetown, we went from 107 listings. Now we are at 128 listings. So a huge jump there. Not a good trend, because we know how quickly that can pile on. Obviously, we are far from like the 170 still that we were seeing last year, but prior to last year, we hadn't seen over 140, and we're very close to that again. So things are starting to pile on in not a great way. Looking at our price points, a huge jump under 800,000. So we went from 16 to 24 active listings. That is a lot of active listings under 800,000 in Georgetown. So something we're going to be watching. Hopefully those can get bought up. That price point should be moving, and it has been moving. So we'll see kind of how it goes the coming weeks. 800 to $1 million is just up slightly from 25 to 28. 1 to 1.5 million is always impacted negatively, it seems, when our inventory goes up. So they went from 52 to 62 active listings. We are like right back in super saturated territory between 1 and 1.5 million dollars. So 62 is a ton of listings available. Not great news for those sellers that we, really jumped back up, because we might remember sort of in January, February, we were at like 26, 25. Now we're up to 62. It's like, oh man, not quite triple the amount of inventory since the start of the year, but we're not far off, and we know that that pocket really can pile on. And 1.5 million plus had remained the same at 14 active listings. So not getting crazy there yet. Looking at Acton, Acton's up slightly from 24 to 26 active listings. Glen Williams is up from 8 to 9 active listings, and the rural market is up from 43 to 46. So the story is definitely inventory on the rise. It would be extremely helpful if our buyer activity could pick up here. I am surprised still at sort of how quiet the buyers have been. There's a lot of great houses on the market, and it's just crickets in some pockets, and for some products. So really interesting market right now. I will have April's numbers next week. I mean, these higher sales are certainly going to help our average price. So I don't suspect we'll be in the like 880,000 range like we were last month. We might even pull us over that million mark. Going into May, we are really hoping to see things pick up here, because that was a pretty soft April in terms of sales, and the normal inventory trends kind of happened by the end of April. Like things really started to pick up in terms of listings coming to the market. So we will have to see how May goes. Hopefully those buyers are going to start to see the deals out there and come out of the woodworks, but only time will tell. So I'll be back next week. Have a great week, everyone.